Welcome to 360 Radio.
So welcome in the producer of the Jim Rome Show.
Hi, this is Jason Stewart with the Jim Rome Show.
Hey, this is Vic Jafer from The Chronicle, and you're listening to Salty and Josh at West 360 Radio.
Cue the music, let's rock and roll.
Yeah, they're a bunch of grannies anyways, especially that old giraffe that they have playing quarterback.
His name is Michael. He runs a website called Madden Maniac. How you doing tonight, man?
Excellent. How are you?
Doing well, doing well.
Oh, I'm not smoking.
All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them.
How long do we have? I gotta pee.
Bleed Green, how you doing this evening?
Doing great, man. How are you?
It's about the mistakes we make. It's about how we react.
Your mind will either be blown by awesome commentary, not from us, but from some of the guests that we pull on the show, or it'll be blown from this natural stupidity that flows from our mouth when you put a couple of microphones in front of some degos. You know what I'm saying? The one and only Cobra.
Hey, it's Cobra. What's going on? Again, you guys do your homework.
There are tens of listeners. Tens.
By the way, you both got great voices.
I think I'm going to change my name to Sonny White.
How's it going, gentlemen?
My Little Pony, friendship is magic.
What's wrong with My Little Pony? I've watched My Little Pony numerous times.
Of course he has.
This is Larry Stone from Titans Radio. You're tuned to West 360 Radio
WestOne
with Salty and Josh.
Thanks, Larry. Welcome once again back into the Dago Dungeon South. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. Welcome back into the Dago Dungeon South. I am your host for this edition of WestOne Radio. I am Murph, the Raider Gamer. There we go. Thanks for welcoming us into your homes once again for another episode of the show. And I say us because, of course, no show would be complete without a sidekick. I have a great sidekick here in WestOne Radio. That is my new co-host. He's now been on board. I don't know if I call him new anymore. This is now the third show that he's been on board. He's been a great addition to the show.
Or says he's fat?
No, not because he's fat.
Or says he's fat?
Well, maybe a little bit, but
Or says he's fat?
it's not important. A waistline isn't what makes you a good co-host. What makes you a good co-host is being informed, being opinionated, and bringing a lot to the table. Okay, so maybe that does make you a little bit fat too. Anyways, welcome to the show. Alan, Execution 99. Great to have you, as always.
Well, I'm not fat. I'm big boned. But I am coming to you live from the Mariachi Dungeon here in Eastside, San Jose. It is a Saturday night, so there might be some mariachi music playing in the background, and that's just some extra free entertainment for the rest of you. See, that's what I bring to this show. I bring extra. I bring more. It's a party when I'm here.
You know, Alan, I actually like mariachi music, and I like even more so than mariachi music. There's a new band out. Well, I don't know how new they are, but they're new to me. But they're called Metallici, and they take old school metal songs like Ozzy Osbourne and Metallica and AC/DC, whatever, and then they do them mariachi style. And they're touring all over California right now. And so I would encourage you guys, if you like metal and you dig mariachi music, listen to these guys, Metallici or Metallic, yeah. Metallici.
You know, is the heavy metal mariachi crossover? Is that really a huge demographic out there?
It is in my house, man. We love them. I'm telling you, these guys are great. They're talented as crap. They got like some YouTube videos and stuff on there. Metal. C-H-I, right? It's Metallici or Metalachi? I think it's Metalachi. Maybe that's, I'm saying it wrong. It's Metalachi.
Well,
check those guys
Josh,
out.
thank you for telling me about that. I'll be sure to not check that out, but thank you for that.
Yeah, okay. Or whatever there, Mr. Bone Thugs.
Hey.
I know, that's your gig. That's cool. All right, so here we go, Alan. Let's get into it. Welcome again into the show. Alan, you know, I know you're a diehard football fan, as am I, as to anybody, obviously, that's going to be listening to our show. This is just the absolute best. Well, not the absolute best. It's approaching the absolute best time of year, Alan. You know, it's not quite cooled off yet, but it's coming. You know, we have we're in the week 3 of the preseason. You know, the Raiders took on Green Bay last night. Actually had a pretty good showing. Did halfway good. Our defense showed up a little bit. Khalil Mack looked pretty good. But anyways, it's starting to brew a little bit of excitement because everybody's 0-0 right now, you know. And, you know, college football is just around the corner. That's always exciting, you know. Again, just like in the NFL, you always go into the college football season thinking your team might have a chance because especially now we got a new playoff system even in NCAA football. So that's going to be incredibly exciting, I think, this year going into it. Of course, we all know that whoever wins the SEC is going to win a national championship. That whole Florida State thing that happened this last year, that was just a complete fluke. But we all know that it's going to be an SEC team, of course. And also, Alan, speaking of the SEC, high school football. I don't know how much you like watching high school football. I remember when I lived in the Bay Area, it wasn't a huge deal outside of maybe the school that you went to. But here in the South, it is absolutely bananas the way that people react and pay attention to high school football. There are live shows. There are all kinds of stuff, all kinds of content dedicated to high school football. It's really exciting. It's really fun. And for our little neck of the woods here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Central Time on ESPN2, you can watch 2 of our teams go at it. And I said earlier, because of I mentioned the SEC, because we have 4 Southeast Conference commits playing in that game, along with 14 other Division I commits going in to their senior years. They're fantastic programs. They're going head-to-head. It's Blackman Blaze versus the Oakland Patriots, and they're going toe-to-toe tomorrow. So tune in at 11 o'clock if you can, if you get a chance to watch them. One of those commitments to UT is a quarterback named Jawan Jennings. He's a quarterback for the Blackman Blaze. I guarantee you, if you watch that football game tomorrow morning, you will see him do something exciting on the football field. It's fantastic. But obviously, our show, yes, we talk about football in general, but this is a Madden league. We are talking about the new game, Alan, and that's part of being excited about this time of year. We got a new Madden just around the corner, Madden 15, the first one made for the next-gen consoles. It's an exciting time to not only be a football fan, but to be a football fan for Madden and Madden 15 and in WestOne Madden Football League.
Well,
Alan,
you know, Josh, this is a very exciting time of the year. September through February is my favorite time of the year. And you talked about high school football, and I'm mostly an NFL guy myself. Even though I lived in the South, I don't really follow college football all that much, nor do I really follow high school football. Although, interestingly, you talked about all the high school teams out there in Middle Tennessee, and I have a few connections. Quentin Patton, wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. He went to Laverne High School out there before going off to LSU, and actually Quentin Patton is a friend of a lot of my friends out there. And then out here in the Bay Area, we have De La Salle. There was a movie about them that just came out this past weekend, I believe it was.
Hey, Maurice Jones-Drew, man, along with a whole other slew of NFL players.
But you know, you're right. We are here in this league to talk about Madden, and that's what our show is here for tonight. But, you know, if you don't mind, before we get into all the Madden talk, I have something a little more serious that I want to talk about, something that came to my attention tonight that I would like to address before we move on to Madden.
Okay. Well, hold on. Let's stop the music. Let's get you some.
Yes, I think quiet would be very good for this. It's, you know, I hate to be a Debbie Downer and bring the whole mood down, but as some people in our league might be aware, this morning the Facebook profile of K-Matt was found deceased by our commissioner, Salty West. Salty went to K-Matt's Facebook profile to do a welfare check, because I don't know if you know this or not, but K-Matt's been suffering a little bit lately. He's had a little bit of an illness, and it's not a very well-known illness. It's kind of rare, but unfortunately, that illness got the best of K-Matt tonight. That illness being what is being referred to as the Indiana fever. And unfortunately, I would like to extend my condolences to the Facebook profile of K-Matt. I just think this is a sad time for our league right now. In a release that was made today, K-Matt is survived by Tamika Catchings, Marissa Coleman, Crystal Thomas, and Lynn Dunn. So it's a very sad time for everyone involved in this whole situation right now.
Oh, you hate to hear about somebody succumbing to the Indiana fever at such a young age, and by young I mean well into your 50s. It's a sad time. Thoughts and prayers to the family, which we would name the members of the family, but it would take us a good 6 or 7 hours, and much like
that would
EA,
take up all my Madden time.
I was saying, much like EA Early Access, we are limited to 6 hours, so we don't have enough time to name all of K-Matt's kin, but we do wish, thoughts and prayers to the family, and we always hate to hear it when we lost, I would say a loved one, but that would be overstating it, when someone passes on to the great Facebook beyond.
Well, with that said, how about we bring the mood up and talk about some Madden? I think from what I checked, there was a game we just downloaded on Friday, and we all got 6 hours to play it. Let's talk about that, why don't we?
Well, okay, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Alan, absolutely, the game is out. We those of us that paid our $5 for the EA access have the game and have been able to play it, as you and I both mentioned, for a limit of 6 hours. So there's been plenty of discussion around this as far as was it bait and switch by EA to say you're going to get the game 5 days early and then spring it on us after the fact that, well, and by 5 days early we mean with only 6 hours total of gameplay. There is going to be no demo. People that own the previous gen models can have that 5-day access unlimited until the game comes out this Tuesday. Quite a bit of controversy around that. To me, I didn't get too caught up in it. I spent about 4 hours the other night playing. I played a game against K-Matt, actually. I played a couple against you and created our league and messed around a little bit in some of the menus and some of the settings. I wish I would have done that prior to the fact, because there are some control changes that we'll get into in a minute. But Alan, what do you think overall about the EA access? Let me say this. I don't miss the demo. The demo to me was always such a limited window of gameplay that it was only, I'm not even going to call it exciting. It was only kind of fun once or twice to play through. I dare anybody to say that they played the demo repeatedly over and over again, unless maybe it was the Niners and Seahawks and it's your team or something. Maybe if it would have been the Raiders, I might have had a little bit greater of an interest in it. But anyways, that's a stretch even in that. So I don't think that missing the demo is a huge deal, because you didn't get to see a lot of the features. You just got to play, one part of one game. And so moving on from that, was this a little bit of bait and switch by EA? I think it certainly could be. I mean, they told us that we were going to give us 5 days of gameplay, and technically we got 5 days of gameplay, but we were limited within that sect. So was that a little bit of bait and switch by them? I don't know. I mean, how much in 5 days, if you spend an hour a day plus one, then there's your Madden time. So from a business perspective, hang on, and then I'm going to throw it to you. From a business perspective, I totally understand why they did it, because there are plenty of games that if you gave me 6 hours with that game, I probably wouldn't go on and play it any further. Now, granted, this isn't a storyline game that we're following. This isn't a lateral game we're talking about. And I would even be willing to admit that most people that are going to get the early access are still going to buy the game anyways. But all that said, it's $5, man. Look, is it really worth getting that tore up about? I mean, I'll save the Peggle 2 qualification here, but really you get 4 games. You get the previous version of Madden, and you get another sports game in FIFA. You get Peggle, and you get Battlefield. Now, granted, those are some older titles, but those titles are not going away. Isn't that in itself worth the $5? So maybe it's not exactly what we wanted as Madden geeks, but you know what? It's enough. It's fine. By Monday night at midnight, guess what? It's going to be removed from our memory banks, and none of us are going to even worry about it, because we're going to be on to the new full-on version of the game.
Well, no one who's listening to our show, our tens and tens of listeners, can see me right now. I'm not on video. But if they could see me, they would see the little tinfoil hat that I have on right now for what I'm about to say. And, keeping it PG-13, because we are a family-friendly show, I think that what happened with this EA Access thing is a little bit of bull. And might be overreacting to that a little bit, but I think it was a bait and switch. And you're right, it's just $5. It's not a big deal. But if I'm being perfectly honest, if I would have known that I was only going to get 6 hours of game time, I probably would have saved my $5 and got a Coke and a Reese's Pieces. And to me, it's more than just the $5 that we're spending now. I mean, I could spend $5 and get a rental and play it longer. But if we're going to start charging $5 for 6 hours of game time and someone is going to open up a second Xbox Live account to get 6 more hours, when is that going to set the precedent to these companies that it's okay that instead of charging $60 for a unlimited use disc copy, we're going to say we're going to charge you $5 and you can play this game for 6 hours, or we can charge you $9 and you can play it for 12 hours, or we'll charge you $20 and you can play it for 20 hours. And we've already seen this kind of system with the pay-to-play games on the online MMOs and stuff. And with a company like EA, I don't trust them to not go down this road eventually.
Well, you make some very, very valid points in there. And frankly, that's one that I hadn't thought of, was that, is this the slippery slope? Is that if we give EA a little bit, or how much of that are they going to take? Now, historically, at least say in the past 10 years, they really haven't, well, I guess really, let me back up. I was going to say that over the past 10 years that downloadable content and things like that they've introduced, like when they had the AFL anniversary uniforms that you could download for a couple of bucks that I did. And, there was been some other things. They really haven't pushed that envelope much further than what they were in those confines. Okay. But I do agree with you. Is it a slippery slope, though? That are they saying, okay, yeah, we're going to give us a few extra bucks here, we're going to give you this? I don't know. I agree. That's something to definitely ponder on. That's definitely something to think on. But I think that maybe the Madden Ultimate Team is going to prevent that from getting too out of control, because that's really a huge focus of the game outside of the connected franchise, at least for the nerds like us that play Madden. Outside of the connected franchise, that's probably it's not probably, that's one of the biggest things that's there, one of the biggest things they at least cater to, and I know that that's a big revenue generator for them, is the Madden Ultimate Team. So I agree with you, Alan. I think that will we ever get to a point where it's pay to play? I don't know. That's probably a little excessive, but are we, could we potentially be falling into another? I don't want to call it a trap, because I don't want to be too dramatic about it, but could we be falling into another system of gameplay that maybe we're not accustomed to and maybe don't care for? I guess it's possible. Could it be like, okay, yeah, you want to play connected franchise, you want all these updated websites, you want all these things you guys are asking for, okay, then it's going to be, $6.99 to play on connected franchise. I don't know. Could be.
And I don't necessarily see the pay-to-play thing coming immediately, but with a company like EA, I don't have that trust for them. This is a company already, EA is kind of known for maximizing their profits over quality already as it is, whether it's not just with Madden, but with a lot of their other titles. I've seen in our own Facebook league, as well as on pages like Operation Sports and stuff, people that are just, I'm signing up for another Xbox account because I'm going to give EA $5 more for 6 more hours this weekend. So there's people that are already doing it. And the biggest thing is that this is Madden that has the exclusive NFL license that people will pay out of their whatever they can to get football. And I wouldn't see EA taking this route to say, hey, $20 for 20 hours of Madden play, really preventing the masses from going out and doing it, because that's their only way to get their football fix. I mean, I am wearing the tinfoil hat a little bit. It might be a little bit of an extreme, conspiracy theory scenario, but I don't necessarily have the faith in EA to present their product in good faith. So I'm a little bit concerned about this.
Well, I don't disagree with you, and I'm sorry, I just had a complete pop-up go on my window there. I don't disagree with you, but here's what I do think is going to change. we talked about physical media going by the wayside last week, and that's really what's pushed this envelope with this whole EA Access thing. The game developers and the publishers want us to buy things digitally because they have direct control over what we do. We can't then take that digitally downloaded copy of Madden or any other game and take it to GameStop and trade it back in. And that's one of the reasons that a lot of these companies have developed DLC with the intent of releasing it after the game is out. That it's remember back in the day that those add-ons were things like, okay, we couldn't get this into the game by release date, so we're going to give it to you at a later time for free. Then it became a strategy, and it was a targeted thing to where they said, okay, we're gonna release the content after the game, but it's going to cost you $5 or $10, or maybe you give us 20 and we'll give it all to you all in one fell swoop. Okay, that's how they were gaining control back over their games. So guys like you and I aren't going down to GameStop and trading our stuff back in. Then someone else comes behind us and buys that game used. Okay, EA or any other publisher would rather give you a game instead of at $60, sell it to you at 40, and then buy the next game you're going to buy at 40, instead of you buying one for 60 and then buying another one used. Does that make sense? So I think that that's the way that it's going. And once we get to the point to where our consoles can accommodate a large library of games, which we're really at it now with the big hard drives on these games, then the less important a GameStop is going to be, those brick and mortar stores, and we're going to see not only easier availability of our games, but you watch, dude, the price is going to drop. I promise you the price is going to drop on this, and that's good for all of us because, I mean, $60 for a title, granted, if it's a AAA title, I don't think that there's any barrier to entry there, but when you're talking about some of these lower games, like I just heard Metro 2033 got re-released for the Xbox One. I don't know how much it is, but I promise you if that game's $60, I'm not buying it. But if I could get it on a digitally downloaded copy at a reduced price, $25 maybe, I'd probably play it, which is the same amount like I would go pay for it at GameStop. So I think that's what they're trying to get themselves into. But just like anything, there's going to be a transition. There's going to be a ramp up and a ramp down. It's got, you know what I mean? It's not going to be a smooth transition because it's undiscovered country. It's a new day. I just like, lots of areas of technology. It's evolving so fast that the development cycle is outpacing. Am I saying that right? Anyways, it's a new thing. It's a new thing, and they've got to build what their business model is going to be around whatever that new thing is going to be, and it's going to be digital.
Well, and we had this disagreement before. I remember when the Xbox One before it was actually released. We had this conversation. You and I and Salty and a lot of the other Facebook page people had this conversation about the digital media and stuff, and you brought up that point that it'll drive down costs. And honestly, I don't think it will, because if these companies don't have that competition from used games anymore, they won't have a reason to drop their prices. So I don't think
because sales are going to suffer because you're not going to pay $60 to play a game that you're not sure if you would like or not, but you'll pay $25 or $30 for it. You know what I mean? So they certainly will. I think it's still supply and demand. And I do agree with you that there is competitive pressure right now from GameStop. But where has that got us? It hasn't got us anything. It's got us $60 games one after another. So once that's eliminated and that's out of the equation, you betcha I think the price will start coming down.
Well, we're going to have to agree to disagree on that because I don't have the faith in watching the game prices drop. And I got my tinfoil hat on. I'm going to keep fighting the power against these $5 6-hour transactions.
All right, well, we'll agree that you're wrong and move on. So let's get into...
Oh, when did K-Matt become the main host?
Yeah, right? I wish I had my soundbite. Okay, let's move on to the new game. Okay, so we did all have a chance to play it. Despite the limit, we all had a chance to get into it. I got to play 3 games, one against K-Matt, a couple against you. I mentioned a little bit ago... Yeah, I know, you whipped my butt. So did he. One of the things that was absolutely killing me was the new controls. Not only the play calling, which we'll get into in a little bit, but just the D-pad, the audible calling, things like that. There are some major changes that have gone on there. I went in and when I initially did the settings before the game, I wanted to try to give, and I do this with every game and that's quote improved or changed from year to year or from title to title. I want to play with what the developers wanted me to experience. Okay, it may not always be the experience that I end up enjoying, but I want to know what they developed the game to play a certain way, and I want to see what they intended for us to play with. Does that make sense? I want to see. It's kind of like a director's cut of a movie. You may love a movie, and then they come out with a director's cut. I want to watch the director's cut. I want to know what they had in mind when they wrote and filmed and created this story. Same thing with the game. I want to know what the devs saw. So I went with these default things and tried to get into it. And now, granted, it was just a couple of games, and it was a short period of time. And is it something I could grow into? Probably, sure, but my goodness, man, I've been playing Madden for a long time, and any departure from what I'm used to doing as far as setting audibles and I was, for lack of a better term, all thumbs. It just, I couldn't get into the flow. I'm getting delay of games called. I just couldn't get into rhythm like I would historically stepping into a new title. Alan, what'd you think about those new controls?
Well, the things that I had the issue with are some of the things that we're going to touch on a little bit later. We talked about this during the epic curb stompings. I was giving you those a couple games, but
let's not call exhibition games curb stompings or epic, huh? Come on, perspective. Because if you want to start calling preseason curb stompings, let's talk about your San Francisco 49ers.
In real life, they got curb stomped in that game.
Awful quiet. Go ahead. Carry on.
But the things that I have had an issue with,
go ahead.
Like I said to RJ on the Facebook page last night, go ahead and have your August trash talking because you won't be playing meaningful games in November.
All right, no one cares about the Niners. Move on.
But the things that I was having issues with were like the play calling screens. Those were really jarring at first and took me a while to get the hang of. As far as the actual gameplay stuff, the audibling has a couple extra buttons you have to push, but I figured that out. No problem. So unfortunately for Josh Norman, I'm not going to quit saying Omaha. But I didn't have any problems with the actual gameplay, with the buttons of the gameplay or anything. It was the play calling screen that really jarred me.
Yeah, let's talk about that. There was two settings on there. That was one reads to, I don't know, like a classic mode or a standard mode, and then the other one was for those accustomed to calling the middle play or something like that. I didn't try that setting because I didn't know what that was trying to indicate. I didn't know if that was only just going to put one play on the screen versus having the three options that we're used to having on the game. Regardless, though, it's clunky. The play calling is clunky. It's not nearly as intuitive. I didn't like it on the right side of the screen or left side, whatever. I didn't like it on this. I like it top and bottom. I didn't care for that. Being over there, it just kind of threw me a little bit. I felt like it was a little clunky getting in and out of the formations. They tried to push us to this game flow, 2 or 3 years ago now, and they want to make it friendly to, we'll call them casual users or casual gamers, and I can respect that. When my kids sit down to play, they play it on game flow, and it's great for them. And as they grow up through their Madden life, maybe that's something that they've just always done it that way, so little them. But it's quite the opposite for us old school guys, man. It's not intuitive. I don't like game flow. I have tried it before and going through and rating plays and doing all that. I don't like it. Because at the end of it, especially in a Madden league, we're playing against human beings. We're not playing against the computer, and there's always going to be a situation. There's always going to be something that you're going to do against a certain coverage or against whatever, and it's not situational. And that's what game flow is. Game flow is always situational, but there's sometimes you may see, you may see something in the way that the guy is playing and a trend in his coverages or whatever that's going to allow you to call a different play. So I know it's easy to back out of game flow. It's just a simple button press, but again, it's that pacing, it's that rhythm that it kind of takes you out of that we become accustomed to as gamers. So I don't really care for the play calling at all. they've historically never patched things like this. It's kind of like it's in there, you get it, that's it. They don't take away the vision cone. You know what I mean? And so we're stuck with this thing. I just hope that maybe it was some early on, unfamiliarity on our parts, and that we'll all grow into being a little more comfortable with the play calling system.
Well, and I remember, you talking about the troubles that you had. I remember in our games, it was at least 2 times where you lined up for the extra point and the game or you had selected the fake field goal instead.
Yeah.
And I remember when we first started playing, until I realized what I was doing, the same thing was happening to me when I was on defense. It's like I had to wait until you picked your personnel for my plays to pop up, for the suggestions to pop up, and then I only have 6, 7, 8 seconds to flip through my entire playbook. And it's like if you're coming out in 3 wide, the game's going to automatically suggest a nickel, but maybe I like my personnelling better in a dime or in a quarter or something. So I didn't like that aspect of it. You're right. And a few years ago, I want to say it was Madden 09, I want to say it was, when you and I first started playing on the 360, they did that side-to-side play calling. And the next year, they went back to the 3 on top, 3 on bottom, and that was a big hit. And now it seems like they're trying to go back again, because I'm just getting the feeling from them there that we're on a new console, so we need to have a new design. Even though the past design worked perfectly, that 3 across on the top, 3 on the bottom play calling system has been the design forever since Madden introduced it in 1992 or whenever the first Madden game was. I remember even my beloved NFL 2K ended up adopting that system after they had a weird, funky play calling system when that series first came out. Just stick to the basics. Change for the sake of change is never good. And if your change isn't adding anything and making things more user-friendly, it's a waste of time.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. That is a classic design, and I got a feeling, just like you said, like they felt such a need to make it different that they just did it to do it, and we all know that's not always the best idea. Okay, well, those were our gripes about the game. Let's move on to some positive aspects of it. In conjunction with the play calling, I do love the fact that it shows you what the previous call was to your opponent. I love the fact that not only does it show what your call was, but it shows what your opponent called. I thought that was a really neat aspect of it. And at first, when you and I were talking, we were like, wait a minute, that's kind of really giving away a lot. But if you think about it, it's really not that dissimilar for what happens in real life. In real life, you're a coach on the sideline with a headset, and there's people in your ear. And it's very realistic to the fact that you could have a coordinator in your ear saying, you know what, I saw, they were lined up in a 4-3. It came with a stunt blitz, coach, on that one, or they blitzed the A gap or whatever, or they dropped so and so into coverage or whatever. It's totally legitimate. I don't think there's anything wrong with that additional information, because it's information that's available in game to an NFL team. And so I really do like that new dynamic of your call and your opponent's call coming up on the screen.
Well, and that adds another realistic element to the chess match that is a head-to-head human versus human Madden game. And, I've had plenty of gripes with my offline franchise modes where I'm playing against the computer, because quite frankly, the computer can never adapt. And you mentioned it before when you talked about the game flow. The computer can never adapt the way that a human can. So playing in an offline franchise, it's either going to be find the exploits to, where the AI's weaknesses are, or the AI is just incredibly superpowered and they cheat the whole way. But against a human, it is a chess match, and it does become much more realistic football, at least in terms of why I love football, which is the chess match between the coordinators and the coaches and the quarterbacks and the defensive captains and all of that. And one of the great things about the new play calling system is, just like in real life, it's going to show my play. And so my opponent can sit there saying, okay, when he's in this formation, he typically runs this play. He's going to have a post pattern over the middle. So, I see this formation come out. I'm going to play defense against this type of play. And don't they do that in the NFL all the time? They show a certain look out of a certain package, show a certain look out of a certain package, and then boom, later in the game come with something else and burn their opponent deep because they came with something else. They set a certain look up to make the defense expect a certain thing, and now they're coming with something different. So that was one of the aspects of the play calling system that I did like, and I do agree with you on that for the sake of bad radio, but.
Well, you make some great points, Alan. Also, a positive aspect of the game that I thought was the graphics. We're going to talk about the presentation here in a minute, but just the actual look of the game, it's a pretty game, man. Madden has made some historic jumps over the years. This one, I wouldn't necessarily, it wasn't as big as what we saw PlayStation to PlayStation 2 or, when the Xbox 360 first came out. That was a pretty massive jump. I remember seeing that at Best Buy and playing it and being like, wow, you could see the sweat on their arms. Like, it was just like crazy, the amount of detail.
Obviously, of course, you would pay attention to a man's sweat, but that's okay.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Hold on, I wish there's another soundbite in there for you that I'll play later. Yeah, so it's made some big jumps, and obviously from that title to where we're at now, that would be a historic jump. But along the way, we've had quite a few, and really it softened it last year, having Madden 25 ported over to the Xbox One. It would probably be much more glaring if Madden 25 was only available on the previous gen console, and then now we'd be getting Madden 15 on the new console. We'd probably all be a lot more impressed by the jump. But that said, even though it may not seem that much of a jump, I love the graphics are great. I'm a little bit over the shiny helmet. I think they've gotten crazy with that like of the last few years. It's like not everybody's got a chrome underlay on their helmet, so they're a little bit shiny for me. But outside of that, you and I, when we were playing, I was mentioning about Colin Kaepernick's tattoos, just like the amount of detail in that. And there I am back to guys with their arms again. But it really is cool, the level of detail, the grass and the crowd, and just the ambience of the game, just the ambient textures and graphics and things like that it's really impressive. Even Jim Nance and Phil Simms are vastly improved over last year. So really, really impressed with the graphics so far in the game.
Well, I'm going to do something that's going to shock you and shock a few of our listeners that know about my not so subtle EA bashing history. I'm going to defend EA on the graphics. It's definitely not an EA thing that the jump isn't what we've seen before. I think it's just a console thing because I've noticed it in a lot of games, not just with Madden, where I'm sitting there playing, I'm like, yeah, this game, it looks nice, but it doesn't look that much better than what I was getting on the 360. I feel like this was probably the smallest jump in technology, at least on the gaming level, from system to system. And now it's glaringly obvious to me that these new systems are more so than ever being designed as more than just a gaming system. And I can tell you right now, my Xbox One gets more use as a Blu-ray player than it does as a video gaming system. And a lot of that is just because it's still early. There's not a lot of games out. But, I look at games like other games that I have that I've played a lot, like Titanfall, like Battlefield 4, and it's just, these are prettier Xbox 360 graphics, but graphically it's not a huge jump on the console, period. So the fact that we're not seeing a huge jump in the graphics from Madden last gen to Madden this gen, it's really not surprising to me. Madden 15 or 25, I'm sorry, was really bad last year because it was pretty much just the Xbox 360 game on the Xbox One. And this year it is a new game for a new system, so it is nice to see that jump, but I'm now not expecting too many huge jumps graphically from mini games anymore.
To go along with the nice graphics has been the overall presentation of the game. One of the things that we could easily be critical of Madden over the past few years, has been the presentation. I think that they upped it quite a bit when they brought in Nance and Sims. I thought that was a great addition. I mean, going back, I liked Gus Johnson. He was kind of fun. But if you remember before that, there wasn't even an announcer. It was like the PA guy was the only thing that you had as an announcer on the screen, so or in the game. So that was, I mean, when you think about the overall presentation of the game over the past handful of years, it really has kind of left some to be desired. This year, though, I thought they did a great job. They brought in a guy named Brian T. Murray. He is the senior cinematographer for NFL Films. And we all know NFL Films is just, I mean, what an amazing presentation of any sport and frankly, any TV show. I mean, maybe I'm biased because I'm a diehard NFL fan, but there's so much drama and so much just emotion that gets invoked when you watch an NFL film presentation. You know, they can be funny, they can be sad, they can be, you know, tug on your heartstrings. You know, one of my favorite shows is NFL Films Presents, that comes on in little 30-minute increments every week during the NFL season. It's just a great show. Just the little things. Sometimes it's directly related to the sport. Sometimes it's a little bit of an abstract look. Maybe they'll take one thing like Fish playing their song Wilson, and how the fan base around Seattle is taken to that, and they play it in the stadium, and everybody chants Wilson at the same time. Or the band Styx, and how the song Renegade is used at Steeler home games. Whatever it may be, you know, they take little things that you may not necessarily really lock into as a fan on the outside. I love their spring training stuff. You know, now we got Hard Knocks, so that's really a great insight to an NFL training camp. But NFL Films was like the first one to kind of really bring you into what is that like? What does it sound like? You know, how do the coaches talk to the players? What are they talking about? You know, and so anyways, all that said, NFL Films is fantastic. It's absolutely classic and amazing at what they do. And so they brought in the cinematographer, and he's brought a lot of the aspects of NFL Films to Madden. And man, what a welcome change. I didn't care for the zoom camera in gameplay. That was something that threw me a little bit, but that was an easy fix to switch it back to standard. So they tried to introduce that to the gameplay, and that I'm not down with. It's like I want to see all 22 guys. I want to, you know, or at least, you know, 18 of them. You know what I mean? I want to see most of what's going on. I don't want to zoom in and then zoom out. That was a little jarring, but the in between stuff, you know. What are, you know, in between the play calling, what is, you know, cutting over to a coach on the sideline, or cutting to a player, you know, reacting to the crowd, or just cutting to a crowd shot as a whole. I thought those were really, really nice little details that were thrown in. Again, short sample size, really didn't have a lot of time with the game, but from what I saw early on, really fantastic. We got some new dialogue also for Nance and Sims, which is welcome because we've gotten a little stale there. I heard a couple of the same lines, but a little bit of a lot of new stuff as well. I was really impressed. I started Derek Carr as my quarterback, and they picked up on him. It wasn't the quarterback. It was Derek Carr, rookie out of Fresno State. So that was pretty cool. So I gotta give him props in the presentation this year.
Well, I do have to correct you on just one little thing. Before Nance and Sims and before Gus Johnson and all that, their commentary was Al Michaels, and I believe they had Chris Collinsworth, and before that, they had the game's namesake, John Madden. So they did.
Yeah,
but
what was the year? No, but there was a year though they took off and went to just the PA announcer.
I don't recall that ever happening. I could be wrong on that.
No, I'm positive it was 08, 09, something like that. It was in the maybe even 7. I don't know. It was somewhere in there. They had a PA announcer.
One of our listeners fact checked for that. I'm sure Justin Tsai, if he's listening, he can be on that.
He knew it off the top of his head. He could tell you what that PA announcer's name was.
Probably. But I haven't tested the presentation in this year's game yet. My 6 hours I want to try to spend playing head-to-head games if I can, and I'm not really wanting to spend this time in the against the computer game or in the menus or anything like that yet. But I am curious to see the presentation. Obviously, for years as a 2K fan myself, Madden's been getting blasted because 2K5 had such great presentation. And I also have to say, I want to say it was Madden 11 or 12 or something like that. I thought they had some really good presentation because it didn't seem to be a big hit, but I loved it. They had the point after show. After every week in your franchise mode, you could hit your Y button or whatever it was, and they'd run down the entire week of games. And I loved seeing that. And they had, you know, the real life versions of, they had Alex Flanagan, and I forget who the guy was, but I thought that was a really good addition, and then they took it out the next year, which really disappointed me. So I'll be curious to see what happens with the presentation this year. I mean, granted, we are an online league, so most of our games are going to be head-to-head, and a lot of the presentation gets cut out of that because we just want to get through the action, so we're skipping all the cutscenes and stuff. But for people who aren't playing online franchise modes or Madden Ultimate Team and like to keep that stuff offline, it's good to see them catered to a little bit and given some love, because even though all of us listening tonight, we're all online gamers, not everyone is, and there was a point where I wasn't an online gamer, where I was just worried about my offline franchise. So any love that they can give to that, I'm definitely happy to see.
All right, last thing we're going to touch on here regarding Madden 15. Of course, there'll be plenty more to come when it comes to the game, but as of right now, in our early thoughts, the last thing, EA, thank you. For all the other things that maybe you did or did not do correctly, I got to give you props on the connectivity of the game, because frankly, it sucked badly on Madden 25 on the Xbox One. Trying to do something simple like invite one of your friends to a game was a pain in the ass. So thank you for the way that it is now. Very simple, very intuitive. We were able to jump in and out of games with the greatest of ease. It was just, I want to even venture to say it was easier than the 360. The 360 was pretty darn easy. Well, this was pretty darn easy as well. So if it's not better, it is certainly on par. So thank you for that, for the connectivity of Madden 15.
Yes, anything that makes that easier. And I hope the servers are improved this year too, because I know last year we had some issues with, I think it was Terry and Touchdown Brown couldn't get their playoff games in. And so those games had to be simmed whenever they played each other. And, you know, when you get to a point that your servers are so messed up that a league has to compromise the integrity of its playoff games, that's a pretty, you know, serious issue. And the connectivity between you and I when we played those couple games, and I haven't played any others yet, yeah, there was no problems between you and I getting connected into games and stuff. So, yes, I'm hoping for constant improvement on that regards.
All right, Alan. Well, before we move on, any last thoughts on Madden 15 and where we're at with the new game?
Well, you know, Madden 15, I'm really looking forward to playing I have the full game now for a few more hours, but I definitely am looking forward to getting the physical disc in my hand and getting this league up and running. It's a really getting the hang of all the new gameplay features, because there's a lot on the sticks that was different, not in a bad way, just different. And that's good that you have to get reacclimated to things, some new features. So it's going to be good to get in and get used to all of that stuff. So I'm definitely looking forward to this upcoming season with this upcoming game. It's the new game, legitimately the first game on a new console, and that's kind of been the game that a lot of people have had their eyes on. A lot of people, myself included, have had a lot of criticisms about EA and the Madden series for a long time, and it was always kind of like, let's wait until the next generation. We're too deep into this generation. Let's wait until the next generation and see what they do. Well, this is Madden's time to really shut all of us up, to have had lots of criticisms over the years, and it's 2014 and people are still bringing up NFL 2K5, myself included, and I know our commissioners listening and not very happy about me bringing that title up about 5 times on the show so far, but I'm looking forward to seeing what this game has to offer in the new console generation.
Gosh, Alan. I asked for a final thought.
And I gave you like 5. That's what I said. I bring more to this show.
All right, let's move on. Alan, you mentioned getting back into the new game and getting back into our league. And yes, our league has been created. It is West One. So please feel free to jump in there. If you need to see what the password is, go to the Facebook page and it is there. Now, that said, the game has been created, or excuse me, the league has been created, but there is a caveat. We historically will wait for the first large roster update to come out before we kick the league off. And there's a very good reason behind that, is that, as you know, as NFL fans, this is a very transitional, very fluid time of the year for rosters. We are not even at 75 yet, when is 75? It's coming up. And then, of course, we got our final cut to 53. So we are going to see a lot of movement, especially in second and third tier players, as far as getting on different teams, and some even ending up on practice squads and then hitting the waiver wire and then, of course, becoming free agents. So until we get to that final cut of 53 and that major roster update that comes out, that's really where we want to kick the league off, because that gives us the truest rosters versus what we see and what we're going to see on Sunday. So we created the league. It's there. We don't know if there's going to be able to make a running roster update or not. They've never had anything like that. That mechanic has never been introduced, but it could be. It could happen. And so if it can happen, then we'll just leave the league the way it is now, and then we'll go ahead and update those rosters and then get the thing going. So, but that said, once that first roster update comes out, that's when officially Salty will determine when we're going to kick off our league and start the season. I don't think we've seen a firm date on anything yet, and really mainly that's because we just don't know when that last update's going to come. I know Donnie Moore said on Twitter the other day that he's got one locked and loaded, that he's got a roster update coming out, but again, we're still not even at 75 yet, so we're still going to see a lot of movement even above and beyond what the next roster update that's coming out is. So that said, one other thing just to clarify, he typically, Salty will leave off any pre-existing injuries. So if you had a guy that went down in the preseason, don't worry about him. Especially if he's one of your top tiered guys, you'll see him when we start the league. I don't think there's been any talk of changing that. Again, I don't know. That's up to Salty, not for me to say here on the show, but usually pre-existing injuries are turned off. So, like last year, I don't know who it was, Gronkowski or whoever, maybe those guys are going to end up being on your roster. So that's what's coming up. So feel free to join the league now if you want to. Get on in there, mess around with your depth chart, but just know that things may change going forward. Okay, Alan, let's get into some of the rules, maybe some of the changes that are coming up for our league. Nothing major has been discussed, or nothing's been thrown out there, but there are going to be a few different things. One of the things we like to do is, obviously it's never going to be exactly what we see on Sundays or what goes on in the NFL, because we're dealing with the confines of a video game, okay? And we're still dealing with pixelated characters, and everything has to be black and white, where in real life there's a gray area that can be operated in. So, but that said, one of the things that we try to do is keep the salaries and keep the structure of contracts relatively close to what we see. And one of the things that guys were doing last year and even before that, in order to kind of operate outside of that, is they were reducing their rosters down and sometimes only rolling with like 40 some odd guys on a team. I'm guilty of it. I would cut a bunch of scrubs to free up money to sign an A player. Well, that's really not true to what the NFL is, or the spirit of it. So we're going to require, going forward, that you have 53 players on your roster. It's mandatory in the NFL. I believe it is. Somebody call me out on that if I'm incorrect, but I believe it's mandatory in the NFL. So therefore, it's going to be mandatory here in West One as well. So no matter how you want to get to those 53 players, That's fine with us. We're not going to put a min-max on certain positions. That tends to limit a little bit in creativity, whether you're a 3-4 guy or 4-3 guy. Maybe you're a guy like myself. I play a lot of secondary. I like having a lot of secondary players because I typically like to have faster guys up there. I may only play 1 or 2 linebackers, and I'm having a lot more quicker guys that can keep up in coverages, especially nowadays when you got tight ends playing the way they are. It's hard to find a linebacker that's going to keep up with Gronkowski, Jimmy Graham, you name it. So I like to play a lot more secondary players. Anyways, that said, 53 players on your team. Get there however you need to get there. Alan, what do you think?
I am totally in favor of that rule. I mean, we obviously this league, we don't want to dictate how you run your teams, but we are trying to have a sim league, and 53-man rosters is what word?
Sim.
Well, we're trying to have a realistic league as much as we possibly can, and 53-man rosters is as realistic as it gets. So I'm totally in favor of it. I thought that we were doing that. Last year, if I would have known that we didn't have to have a 53-man roster, I would have cut all my 3rd and 4th string scrubs and freed up enough money to save Aldon Smith, and I never would have lost him. So I think it adds some needed realism to keep our rosters at 53. I don't think that we have to have, unless there's a glitch issue like last year where if you only had 2 quarterbacks, your starter would never get hurt. There shouldn't be a position limit, but we definitely should have 53. Let the owners figure out for themselves how they want to fill that 53. On a side note, I have just received word that we have USC Wheezy from the Bears is looking to join in with us, Josh.
Fantastic. We're going to reach out to him right now.
And USC Wheezy, owner of the Bears, last year was the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, if I'm not mistaken.
Hello.
Earl, are you with us?
Yo, USC Wheezy in the building. What's going on, fellas?
How's it going, buddy? Welcome into the show. Glad to have you. Great to have a fellow SEC fan and Southerner on the show. I finally feel like I got some backup now.
Yeah, you
well,
got
not only that, but also my annual Marcus Lattimore trade partner.
No, I won't need him this year. I won't need him this year.
Oh, no, you got Matt Forte over there in the backfield for you. I think you're pretty set. So.
Oh, yeah, I'm set. And they got the rookie, so he should pan out, see what he looks like. I'm going to get all my 6 hours in tomorrow. I didn't want to waste it over the week, over Friday and Saturday, so I figured I'd get it all the way Sunday so I can test everything out.
I got a few hours left. If you're looking to get in the game, feel free to hit me up. I'll be happy to play you.
Okay, well, I'll look for you tomorrow. I'm going to probably get in sometime tomorrow evening.
Tell us about your Bears. I went on a little bit of a rant last week and talking about the Bears, and I said they had the best wide receiver core in all of football, and I'm not going to back off of that claim and that statement. I think they're not only the best one in Madden, but they could be in real life. And then you add in a great tight end in Martellus Bennett. I think that you got an amazing amount of targets, and then even you add in Matt Forte catching passes out of the backfield. Man, you got a lot of targets there with those Bears. I don't know if you caught the segment that Michael Irvin did with the Bears receivers on NFL Network. It was classic. It was so funny. Did you see that when they were catching passes off the jugs machine?
No, I didn't catch it. I meant to YouTube that. I didn't catch that.
Oh, it was so funny. I'll just throw you one line. They're all catching passes, and Alshon Jeffrey is starting to do tricks. He's catching them with like his hands inside out. He's bent over and he's catching them behind his back and behind his legs. And so Michael Irvin says, he wants to get in there and try it too. So he's getting in there and he tries these tricks. And it takes him about 3 or 4 balls, and then finally he starts catching them all too. And he starts telling them all a story about how he's been catching everything everything forever, and about how when he was born, when the doctor went to slap him, he grabbed his and he caught that doctor's hand, and he went over and looked at him and said, "Man, I've been catching everything all my life." It's so funny, man. It's a great segment. YouTube that segment, and I'm not doing it any justice. He is so funny and working with those Bears receivers. It's a great segment, and I think they're awesome. So tell us about your Bears. What do you think?
Offensively, they're going to be pretty good. Especially they added Santonio Holmes, even though he's a little bit older. I mean, he'd be perfect in the slot. He's still got a little, he's not super fast, but he's still got a little speed to where I can, have him in that slot. Offensively, I have no complaints, none. It's on the defensive side of the ball where I'm a little bit concerned. My safeties, I'm gonna have to really build them from the back end, just kind of like Seattle is, from the safeties up to the front, because everybody knows it's a passing league now, and in the division that I'm in. Aaron Rodgers twice a year with his weapons, and Megatron, and they up their offensive weapons too. Bell, Bush, Megatron, the rookie tight end Ebron. Tate. They got some weapons too. So there's going to be a lot of shootouts in the NFC North. It's really going to be a lot of shootouts. But I'm looking forward to playing with the Bears. I really am. Finally got some offense, but now I'm just concerned about my defense. Just going to have to outscore people for the time being.
Well, you mentioned some of the teams you're going to go up against in the Lions, and I got to say, your division might be the toughest. We all know Terry and what he does with the Minnesota Vikings, and of course Adrian Peterson. Now you got the Chihuahua himself, Josh Norman, coming in to run the Packers, and they are a stacked team, and he's a great player. I picked him to win it all this year. I think he's great, and of course we know Ostie with those high-powered Lions, how they're going to do. Knowing that you got these incredible offenses you're going to have to go against. You mentioned that you're going to be struggling on defense. Who are you going to look to build around? Talk to me about your secondary. Is there a pass rush there to be had? And what do we got? Jared Allen, right, rushing the passer, coming off the edge. What do you think you can build on for your defense to be able to keep up with these high-powered offenses?
Well, it's going to be interesting because Bears play a 4-3, and I'm a 3-4 Madden player. I've always, since the 07 series, always been a 3-4 guy. So I'm kind of caught in the middle. I'm trying to think, do I want to just start from scratch and just tough it out and just implement a 3-4 and just work that way, or try to use a 4-3 and then build it that way? I'm still kind of going back and forth. I'm not sure how I want to do it. But, they got two good pass rushers. They got Allen on one end, and they got Houston on the other. I know we're kind of weak at defensive tackle. Linebackers, I'm okay, but I need more speed. I like my rookie corner, Fuller. I think in a couple of years or seasons, he will take over for Peanut Tillman at the corner. But I already know my safeties, I need safety help. My safeties are garbage. They're garbage in real life, and then they're garbage on Madden. So that's my main thing right there. I need to get two safeties to kind of help me out on that back end, and I'm going to build my defense from back forward. Starting in the secondary and then come up. That's the only way I'm going to be able to slow some stuff down for the time being. But I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I've played, Ostie and Terry, so I already know they tough. So I already got a feel for them. I don't remember playing Josh. I might have played him, but I don't remember. So I know I had to get used to who did he have last season?
He had your team, actually.
Oh, he had the Bears? Okay.
Which, brings me to my next question. I had to ask this if you're going to come on with the Bears. My rivalry with Josh Norman aside, last year he had your Bears and he did pretty good with them. I think it was 3 straight NFC Championship appearances, a Super Bowl appearance. Had that division on lockdown all year, and now he's up, in Green Bay taking over that team. And now you coming into the Chicago Bears that had a lot of success in last year's game. Do you feel any pressure? Do you feel like you have some shoes to fill in that, or are you up to? You think you feeling pretty confident in that division of yours?
I feel like I can compete. I mean, I'm not trying to fill nobody's shoes but my own. I mean, I don't know what he did with the Bears. I never played him. I heard there was a lot of shenanigans going on, but I let it go.
Well, that's one way to put it.
So, like I just know it was. I just saw some stuff on the board, so I said, okay, well, I don't know what's going on, what he doing with my squad, but I bring some class to the organization. I put it that way, and I'm just gonna compete.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to put some points on the board. Try to put some points on the board and work on my defense. All I know is whoever plays is going to be a tough out. That's all I can say. I'm not going to sit there and say I'm going to win anything. I'm just be a tough out.
Well, you know, I played good.
That's some bulletin board material there for Josh Norman. I love that, man. Bring some class to the organization. Very nice. Now we know you're a big South Carolina Gamecocks fan. We know you're a season ticket holder. We know that you're dyed in the wool on that team, and I'm with you on SEC football, man. It's the absolute best. Anybody says that it's not, they're wrong. But talk to me about the Bears. And we know you're a Bears fan. How do you become a Bears fan residing in South Carolina?
Oh, well, I'm actually from Chicago.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. I'm originally from Chicago. I ended up in South Carolina. I was in the military. So I bounced around, you know, and then I ended up, I did my basic training there. Then towards the end of, actually, after I got out, right when I was getting out, I had met my future wife. She's from there. So ended up moving back there and ended up going to college there. So that's how I kind of fell in love with my Gamecocks, even though we sucked balls when I was in school there. The first 2 years I was in school, we won the first game, and then we lost 21 straight games. For real. We went 1-10 my freshman year, then we went 0-11 in my sophomore year. Third year, we kind of turned it around. We won a few games. That's when I really got hooked, and it was kind of back and forth. But when we got Spurrier, it was rough in the first 2 years because he was just trying to build a program from scratch. But now he just, you know, in the last 4 years, he's recruited heavily. I mean, what Alshon doing with the Bears, I mean, I saw that his freshman year. I mean, it's not surprising what he's doing in the league now. And trust me, when he came out the draft that year, I was like, please draft him, Chicago. And they did. I was dancing the jig. So we finally got some damn wide receivers. Y'all know, just like anybody else know, Bears offense sucks for years. All defense, barely any offense. Now it's funny. Now we got our offense and we got no defense. I'm like, okay, can we get some balance?
I know. Can you imagine if any of those guys would have been there the last time that the Bears were in the Super Bowl? I mean, when Devin Hester led off that game by running that kickback for a touchdown, I thought, that's it, man. This game is over. And then Rex Grossman took over. I mean, if you had any semblance of offense like you do now back then, it would have been lights out. Peyton Manning would have never saw that first Super Bowl.
He would have never saw that first Super Bowl. No, I knew we was in trouble, man. Rex Grossman. I mean, I saw him play at Florida, of course, on the Spurs. So, I mean, but their system that they had, they ran roughshod over pretty much everybody back then. But he tried in that year, last time we got the Super Bowl, in the middle of that season, and you can see that we were winning despite of him because our defense was that good. It was really that good to where all we needed was defense to slow down and whatever dumb team wanted to kick the ball to Devin Hester because he took about every punt return back that year, or kickoff return. So, but now that we got some offense, man, we'll see. I mean, I know in real life they're gonna be a problem. I'm hoping I can make them a problem in Madden, but I got to tighten my defense. So I'm more of a defensive guy than an offensive guy. So we'll see. But I know I got weapons. That's the main thing. So I have no excuse for not being able to put no points on the board.
I got a question for you, and then I know Alan's got something for you as well, and this is kind of touching on what you had mentioned about Devin Hester. And it was something I heard on the way home today from my boys' football game. I was listening to Sports Talk, and they were talking about Devin Hester. The Titans played the Falcons today, and they were talking about Devin Hester, and he had a pretty big return, I guess, in this preseason game. And they were talking about how he still had flashes of what he once was. And, he's returned 18 kicks back for touchdowns, which, if I'm not mistaken, that's an all-time record in the NFL. And Frank Wycheck, who was doing the Titans broadcast, said he's a future Hall of Famer. And the guy that was leading the broadcast kind of took issue with that and said, what do you mean? And Frank's like, he's done something that nobody's ever done. He's been the best at what he does, although it is, yes, it's special teams, but he's the best at what he does at his position in the time that he played, and that should therefore qualify him as a Hall of Famer. Now, we just saw Ray Guy for the Oakland Raiders go in as a punter. Right now, today, I think it's a great topic of discussion with 18 kickoffs returned for touchdowns. Is Devin Hester a Hall of Famer based on that performance, or does he have to do a little bit more, or should he even be in there at all?
Yeah, that's a
Isn't that a good question? Yeah.
That's a good question. It's a tough one because, I mean, he does hold a record for the most, return touchdowns, and he changed the game. Like, I mean, it was almost like, why do you kick the ball to him? Like, it's going to happen. I mean, he literally would change the game. But Hall of Fame, that's, as much as I love Devin Hester, that's a tough one. I mean, if I was voting, man, it would depend on who was in that class. Like, I mean, it would really have to depend because I could not overlook a every down player over that. I just couldn't. I mean, he's in a discussion. I mean, I'll put him in a discussion, but just to say, oh yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, that one I couldn't co-sign on that.
I got you. I think it's a great discussion, and you're right. And he's in the conversation. There's no doubt. Now, is he a first ballot guy? No, probably not.
No.
Could he be one of those guys that 10, 15 years after he's retired, especially should he get a couple more, has he done yet? I don't know. He's probably got at least 2 or 3 left in him, maybe. I mean, so it was definitely a fun topic of discussion. I was glad to get your opinion on it. Okay, Alan, what do you got for USC Wheezy before we let him go?
And I just want to say, you talked about how you want to be just a good game every time out, and I can tell you from the times you were running Philadelphia last year, you are a tough opponent out every time, and I'm looking forward to our matchup because I got you week 2 of this season when I'm officially opening up this new stadium of mine in Madden 15 against you, both in real life, and I'm planning on being at that game and in Madden, so I'm looking forward to seeing you week 2. So looking
gosh,
to see what
I gotta say, Kaepernick crap. Offensively, I'm looking forward to it. Defensively, I'm not. I got to figure out how to work these Bears, man. I'm still trying to figure out, do I want to run my 3-4 or do I want to just go with the 4-3 because that's what the Bears personnel is? I might just bite the bullet and take my lumps, man, because I got to go with what I'm comfortable with. So, I mean, it'll make it more interesting anyway, because then that means I'll be building my defense from scratch. Because it was easier to do it with the Eagles last year because they was with the 3-4. They just didn't have the personnel, and I kind of somewhat drafted some personnel as far as secondary and stuff go, but they were still kind of weak on the defensive line. But we'll see. I mean, I might do a little bit of both, but I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I figure, hey, my first 2 games is tough because I played. Doesn't Cy has the Bills?
Yeah, that's Justin Cy.
Yeah, because he kicked butt with the Jaguars last year, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and I already know Bills got speed. I mean, they got tons of Spiller and Watkins, and yeah, they got some speed. So I'm gonna have my work cut out for me the first 2 weeks.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, me too.
Well, good deal. Well, thanks a lot for calling in. Appreciate you coming on, being part of WestOne Radio. Appreciate having you in the league. Appreciate having I'm not an original Southerner like you, but I've been a transplant, and I'm comfortable here in the South and love SEC football. And so it's great to get a chance to finally talk to you. And I look forward to seeing what you do with the Bears this year. And as we get kicked off here in just hopefully just another couple of weeks. So thanks again for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
All right, Rick. I'll take it easy.
All right, you too. Have a good night.
All
right, there he was, USC Wheezy running those Chicago Bears. Appreciate him calling in on the show. That's always great to get Collins. We always like to have live participants. That's one of the things that makes this so much fun, is we get to interact with our owners, not just on the Facebook page, which sometimes can, you can get a sense of someone's personality, but it's always great to get a chance to talk to him. So really good to hear from him. Really good to have him call in on the show. Alan, just a couple things I want to touch on before we leave the 53 mandatory man roster size. We will address the breakdowns of the positions if there's a glitch. If that quarterback glitch should show to be in there again as last year, for those who don't remember, if you only had 2 quarterbacks on your roster, that your starting quarterback never got hurt. So we changed it to where you had a mandatory 3 quarterbacks. That way that opened up those guys for injury, especially in nowadays game where we got quarterbacks running around there like crazy. Speaking of Kaepernick. So we will address it if there is an issue with any glitches. But as of right now, assuming there's no glitch, you should be good with 2 quarterbacks. If there is a glitch, it will go to 3, but we won't know that right away. That will take a little bit before we get to that point, and that will be up to Salty to make that determination. Okay, so that takes us to our next couple of things. Alan, you got anything you want to jump in?
Yeah, before we get going too far, there's a Madden league here. We always talk about football and Madden, and rightfully so. But most of us in this league, or a lot of us anyways, we know each other on some level. Like you and I were brothers. You and Salty are cousins. K-Matt is he's like the redheaded stepchild. He's just there. And sometimes we discuss things that go beyond football. Some things that are a little more personal. And I'm kind of feeling like I got you're my brother. I got something that maybe I can share with you on the air, something a little personal. I know it's a little change of direction, but can I do that for just a second?
Alan, yeah, hey, this is your forum, man. Go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you. I've been doing a lot of online dating lately and everything. Going out on dates here and there, looking for the one. And I haven't found her yet, but I got this message tonight. Well, we've been doing the show, and the username is Chihuahua Lover 12, and the picture is of a little Chihuahua. And so I opened up the message. I'm like, what's this person have to offer? And it was really a touching message. I don't want to go word for word about what it said, but it was just what I'm looking for, I want to find someone that I can just cuddle with and watch him audible all night long. I wish someone would say nice things to me, loving things like Omaha, X, Y, right, C, things like that. And it just got me thinking, this is usually the part of the time where Josh Norman calls into the show. And I started to notice that at the bottom of the message, it was signed, yours truly, Norman. P.S. I'm sorry that I can't be there with you tonight, but I'm missing you. I'm staring at the rain as it bounces off my window tonight, and I'm missing that I can't be there with you tonight. And Josh, I just want you to know, I'm Josh, you joined us. I'm so glad that you joined us, Norman, because I have something just for you. And your message really inspired me, and this is just for you what I have. Yes, just for you. I know we've had some issues this past year, and you don't like my audibling, and you don't like my stat team, and all of that, and so I've come up with a solution. I have decided to go with the Odd-In Challenge for our preseason until our league starts officially. What the Odd-In Challenge is whether your name is Josh Norman, Salty West, K-Matt, or anyone else in this league. Yes, Josh, let me finish. We're getting there. I will face anyone in the league in an exhibition game before our league starts, and you can pick my team. If my 49ers are just too much for you to handle, you can pick my team. You want me to run with the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Buffalo Bills, the Oakland Raiders, the Cleveland Browns.
Hey, don't put those words in your mouth.
I might have to veto the Raiders. But you pick the team you want me to play, and I'll play you. The only requirement is that I get to use my playbook, because the point is that I'm trying to make is that strategy trumps ratings. So anyone out there in the league listening, anyone who's going to listen on the after show off the link after the show goes off the air, tag me on the Facebook page, hashtag Auden Challenge, and the name of the team you want me to run. I will face anyone in this league with any team that you want me at any time during our preseason. We had the Lone Wolves tournament last year. Well, this year I'm calling it the Auden Challenge. I'll face anyone in the league with any team you choose.
Well, there you have it. Auden Murphy with the Auden Challenge. I love it. So you guys, you know what? You heard it. You understand it. Let's do it. This is going to be a blast. This is the fun time of the year when we're filling in. We're kind of waiting for everything to get kicked off, and we're not going to do the 21-day league. I misspoke on that last week, and I apologize if anybody was excited about that. We are kicking around the idea of doing a Lone Wolves tournament, but in the meantime, the Auden Challenge, and shoot, this could even go worldwide with this thing. We could start challenging each other to all kinds of crazy stuff. So I love it. If you guys want to call Alan out because he's always using those pesky 49ers, yeah, make them use a punk team. Make them use somebody like the Jacksonville Jaguars, and make them use the San Diego Chargers, and see if he can still get it done. Excellent, Alan. Applause to you, buddy. Great job with the Auden Challenge. I love it.
Starting Tuesday.
Please carry on.
Well, just all the details that I laid out, just, hit me up on the Facebook page. Tell me that you want an Auden Challenge game. Tell me what team you want me to use, and we'll set it up and we'll go. I'll use my playbook because that's the whole point of this, is I get to use my strategy and what I want to do, but I'll do it with whatever players you want me to do. Like you said, the Jaguars, the Bills, the Titans, the Browns, the Bengals, the Jets, the Chargers.
If somebody gives you the Titans, you'll definitely be in good shape. All right. Excellent, Alan. Good job. Speaking of the Tennessee Titans, and someone that absolutely can't stand them, with great regret, that I'm going to welcome in.
What's up, Alan?
Hi.
Caller, are you there?
I am here. What's going on, Murph?
Okay, man. How are you, buddy?
Good.
I'm doing good. Exciting time in Annapolis right now, but I can't talk about that, so let's move on.
Yes, because it's already gotten you booted from the Facebook page numerous times, and it will get you booted from this radio show quicker than you know.
Hey,
that, so don't.
I got booted 3 Facebook pages. Let's correct that.
So how's your case of the Indiana fever? Is it starting to die down? I guess I heard a misreport today.
Hey, Easter Conference Finals, baby. Starting next week. Josh is coming up from Tennessee.
Josh, it's bad. I don't know. This sounds like a really bad case, Josh.
No, I'll never make that trip up to the land of meth and tractors. No,
I'm talking about K-Matt's Indiana fever. That sounded really bad right now. I'm not a doctor.
It is. It's been acting up like crazy. In fact, it's blinded him to couth and an overall consideration for humankind. The way that he continues to berate us with that talk. I'm not even gonna respect it by identifying the team. If you want to know what it is, you can read it. It's right over here. I'm not even going to mention that team, nor that sport, nor that league, because by doing that, it somehow validates it. Let's move on. K-Matt, it's great to have you call the show. Thank you. You are a welcome addition to WestOne Radio, as always. In fact, I was combing over some sound bites not long ago that we are to go full circle, something that USC Wheezy has helped us put together a new intro for the show. I wasn't able to complete it for this week's show. I'm hoping to have it up and going for next week's show. But that said, I've been combing over sound bites from previous call-ins and previous episodes of WestOne Radio. And, of course, K-Matt, you are a huge part of that. You are part of the old intro, and you will be part of the new one as well. Mr. My Little Pony and Mr. Bottles and all that good stuff. There is an endless amount of K-Matt sound bites to be included. So, being a long tenured owner in West 360/West 1, always running the Indianapolis Colts other than early on in the league when you first found your way in. I hate to even ask this. Tell us about your Indianapolis Colts and what your early thoughts are in the game and how good you're going to do, and tell us about how great Andrew Luck and his neckbeard is.
Well, I think you got a taste of that a couple of days ago, didn't you?
I taste nothing.
Ooh. Josh.
See, this is what you got to be willing to do to be a good radio. You got to be willing to put yourself out there. You got to be able to fillet yourself wide open and put yourself out there for the masses to see. Everybody got to look at me, full profile, as I got to deal with this. But I'm willing to do it. I'm a man. I can lose like a man. I can win like a man. I lost. You beat me. Go ahead.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Oh yeah, I should have that one queued up.
I digress. I'm pretty excited about the Colts this year. Their offense, man, they have 3 stud wide receivers. I think now the way
I'm a man. I'm 40.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Bad timing.
That's quite all right. But I think the way Madden has developed with the receivers, where speed is important, but it's not everything. I think we finally can use receivers like a Reggie Wayne, who is not the fastest receiver by any stretch, but has hands, can run a route, can catch everything thrown to him. So I'm excited to use him and Nix and then put T.Y. in the slot. Man, their offense is going to be good, and have 2 beast tight ends.
That ain't true. That's not true.
Go ahead.
Okay, Josh, you're getting a little trigger happy.
I was waiting for him to compliment himself, and then I was going to bust that one out. All right, go ahead.
Hey, I can talk about Lynn Dunn if you want.
Right, I'm done, I promise. Go.
However, now on the other side of the ball, while they got 2 pretty good players.
Robert Mathis is a straight beast. Let me give you props on that. Gosh, bless it, I could not deal with that guy. Granted, I didn't mess with my offensive line yet, and I've got some weak tackles out there. But sheesh, that guy was living. He spent more time in the backfield than Darren McFadden.
Yeah, I mean, he is quick.
Well, that's because Darren McFadden was probably on the sidelines hurt, but that's another story.
Shut your fat mouth, that one.
No, he was catching 30 catches. You know how Josh plays.
That's right. He has one play, the wheel route. Oh, and the fullback streak.
I blitzed everybody but 4 players on the goal line and left McFadden open on purpose on one play, just to see what he would do. And Josh, my man, did not let me down at all. McFadden right out of the backfield.
You know what? It's preseason, man. I'm not showing you what I got when I'm game planning for this year.
With
I was going to let anything reveal. I kept it to 4 plays. I'm just like a real life NFL team.
You know, with Josh, we don't need that little thing that comes up that tells you what his play call was, because it's the same play call every time.
No, but one thing.
I'm sorry, Alan had to leave the show early.
I just played 3 games. I haven't even used my 6 hours of the stuff yet. Just been busy, but I've noticed, I don't know if everybody else agrees with me, but attributes like strength, block shed, the pursuit are, to me, looking more important, because the Colts, while they're 3 linemen and they're 3-4, are not what I would call great players. They're big, strong guys, and I played them all 3 games, and really, the running game against me is non-existent. So I think strength, block shed, and the pursuit are upped, and I love it because I love defense. I'd rather have every game 20-16 than have these 50 to 45 games we've been seeing the last couple of Maddens. Even when I put 100 points on Allen in a night, I'd rather only beating 40-0 than 100. What was it, 7 or something?
Hey, we can go as soon as this show's over if you want. You got some time left. I got some time left. Let's see who puts 100 on who. I'm game.
Alan, I am so tired of beating the Murphs. It is, oh my God, it is so old. I am just tired of it. It's like when me and the Raiders play this year, I'm telling you, my 9-year-old, he's going to be there. His name's Zane. It's going to be Zane and the Murph Show. I'm going to put it on so everybody can see it. I'm going to say Zane, put 11 players on the running back. And then his defense, he'll throw 9 interceptions to my son, too, so it doesn't matter. I see him lean back in his chair. He's waiting. He's got something to say. I see it in his eyes.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm throwing it out there right now, K-Matt. As soon as this show goes off the air tonight, I will play you one-on-one. I got probably about 3 hours left. I don't know how much time you got left, but let's do it. You haven't played me as much.
Hey, why don't I love this idea, and why don't one of you Twitch that so we can all watch?
I'm game. I accept the challenge. I already threw down one challenge tonight, and I'll throw down another one. What say you, K-Matt?
Come on, K-Matt, big and brave, coming on the show. Go for it.
All right, I got you.
All right. Don't
Never one to back down from a challenge, K-Matt. He always he likes to talk some junk, but he also likes to back it up too. So I'll give you credit again there. Gosh, I'm telling you, I really do got to eat a lot of pride to have you on this show, especially now that Salty's not leading the charge like he used to. I have control of the board here, and still to allow you to come on this show and berate us the way you do. Not only are you trying to take me down, you're trying to take down my whole family.
What do you mean try? I already have.
Oh, okay, Matt. Let's not.
Never gracious, always sour. This guy. Never gracious, always sour. Always.
Okay, Matt. Let's not get too cocky. I'll give you a lot of credit. The first time we played in Madden, 13? You rocked me. That was embarrassing. I was texting Josh the whole time during those games, and I was.
What was he going to give you pointers? He does the same
thing. You got me like bad. That was bad. But if you remember last year in the Lone Wolf tournament, I rocked you. Wasn't even close, and you squeaked one out on me in the regular season and then quit the league before we could get our second regular season game in. So,
first of all, the Lone Wolves is like preseason. The 360 league, once Xbox One came out, I really had no interest in playing.
And you make more excuses than Norman.
You have an excuse every time you lose.
I've never made.
Oh, now wait a minute. Now hold on a second, K-Matt. I don't know where you live in Indiana, but I'm pretty sure that if you got glass walls, you better not throw those stones, sir. Because if there's anyone that's ever complained and blamed other things for losses, it's you. I love you to death, and I'm glad you're on the show here because you're funny. But that is total BS, dude. Don't even go there. No, don't even go. No. You're not allowed to throw that stone. No, you're the
and not only that, but make it accurate. I've never made excuses losing to you, K-Matt. You beat me good when you beat
one Murph to be quiet is hard enough.
Welcome to the family.
Go ahead. Hold on, Alan. Okay, you have the floor.
In my past Madden experience in West 360, I took it a little too serious and me and Murph probably had a couple exchanges on both sides that probably shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
However, now I've got relaxed a little bit. But don't say I barely squeaked by you, whether it's the 100-point night or a Kaepernick throwing to Robert Mathis for an game-winning interception. A win is a win, baby, and that's all that matters.
You're right. A win is a win, and good on you. As far as official Madden West 360/West 1 gameplay goes, you are undefeated against me. Congratulations to you for that. No excuses. You've been the better player 3 games out. Now, I'm throwing down the challenge to you. We don't get to play in the regular season that much. You're in a whole other conference, and you didn't show up for the Super Bowl when I did make it. I was really looking forward to you, but you weren't there. You didn't hold up your end of the bargain. So I got to play you in the preseason. So let's do it. Let's stop talking. Let's stop talking about it. Let's be about it.
All right, I'm gonna jump in on you there. Hopefully, you guys can get that done, and we can get that thing twitched. We would love to see that. K-Matt, love having you call into the show. You are, if anything, entertaining. So we definitely appreciate that. Glad that you are back from the dead, from your Indiana fever. I'm glad that you have recovered from that illness. And
not recovered yet.
Well, okay.
We got another one to go.
You are in recovery, so please, Lo, let's keep it at a minimum, huh? Let's keep your interactions many and your mentions of that team and that sport few.
What is the record for getting kicked out of the league and back in the league? Because I'm there. I'm going to get there before this run to the championship.
Well, you definitely got that record, and probably in overall boots from leagues in general. I think you are at the top of the list there. So I guess congratulations on that. All right, let's talk a little bit real quick, though. Junk talk aside, give me one parting shot here about Madden 15. What do you think, Matt?
My first impression is phenomenal. The gameplay is more than just speed, more than just throw the ball up. Matter of fact, in a couple games, I just ran a bunch of streaks a couple times, just threw it up to see what happens. And it's just phenomenal. It's almost as close to real life, I think, as they've ever put out before. And I'm going to enjoy it. When I debag the Raiders and eventually 49ers, I'm going to love it. Sorry, I had to put the smack in there. I know. You know I can't go. It's common without it. However, I digress.
That's all right.
But I really do think it's awesome. I'm sure there's going to be flaws in it. It's a video game. But my first impression is it's outstanding. And besides all the access nonsense that people want to get mad about, which I think is dumb, I think they put out a great product.
Well, I think we agree, at least early on in the early onset of the game. It's a great product, and look forward to what we got coming up in West 1 this year. K-Matt, thanks for calling in. Thanks for us letting us call you anyways. I appreciate you being part of the show. Appreciate you being part of the league. You are a key member of our squad, so let's keep it that way and not mention that sport with that team. All right, so thanks again for calling into West 1, and we will talk to you next time. Have a good week.
Well, and I'll see you when you come up here. Take care.
All right, we'll see.
And I'll see him when we get up the air.
That was the infamous K-Matt D, owner of the Indianapolis Colts. Alan, he's right. They are a handful, and it will take a certain retool of some pass protection to be able to handle Robert Mathis and that defense.
Well, and
not to mention
we didn't touch on it too much in our earlier discussions, but with the new D-line additions and everything, with the whole snap count and everything, defensive end's definitely got an upgrade this year. So he's definitely got looking good on that front.
Absolutely. All right. He did mention about speed, though. He did talk about that. He's got one of the speedier guys in T.Y. Hilton out there, one of the fastest guys in the NFL. One of the things that we typically do in our league is we adjust the speed threshold in order to get a little bit more realistic of an outcome with some of the speedier guys. None of us want to have our wide receivers, fast running backs, anybody like that, break out into open space and then get chased down by a slow linebacker or even worse, a defensive lineman, which without adjusting that speed threshold, that's the kind of things that you have happen. Now, there is a balance there, because if you overcompensate, all of a sudden speed is all that matters, and you got guys like, he mentioned, I don't know if he mentioned DHP or not, but you got guys like, Hayward Bay, Devin Hester, we talked about, T.Y. Hilton, Ted Ginn. We got these guys that, whether or not you think they're elite or not, the only thing truly elite about them is their speed. And with the speed threshold set too high, basically all you got to do is put those guys on 9 routes and chuck up the ball up in the air. If you got a guy with 90 plus throw power, it's relatively easy to get those completions downfield. So regardless of game mechanics, and I know accuracies have changed and blah, 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 blah. But that said, for the most part, just about every incarnation of Madden that we've seen to this point, with the speed threshold set too high, that's the result. But with it too low, then we get the result where you got a guy like Darren McFadden in his 90 now 5 speed get chased down from behind by D linemen. So we're going to look to find a balance there. That will be determined by Salty. Yes, there is input to be had there, so you guys speak up on it. There's a post on the Facebook page now, but ultimately that's going to be Salty's determination. I think historically it's kind of landed somewhere between 20 and 30. Going back to Madden 25 in the Xbox One League last year, I had it set at 30, and it felt really good. I had Deshaun Jackson on my team. I was able to acquire via a major trade, and he felt right. With the amount of speed that he has, with the throw power of an Aaron Rodgers, he felt right. Did that mean that it was a slam dunk, always a go-to, and it was a 100% success rate? Absolutely not. But it felt right, even though it didn't always work, and it probably worked less of the time than more of the time. It felt right when it did work. So that's what's up with the speed threshold. I mentioned about the 2-day league, the 21-day league, that we're not doing that. I jumped the gun on that announcement last week. So we're going to put a line through that. No 21-day league. That was just kind of a brainstorm thing that we're not going to be able to accomplish. But that said, we are going to have more than likely we'll have a Lone Wolves. Again, up to Salty to determine that and determine the timing on it. But look for that. Look for some announcements to be coming up on that, on the Lone Wolves tournament. A few other things, Alan, out there that have been kicked around. We talked a little bit about it tonight with the way that the play calling has changed. We've a little bit of back and forth on the Facebook page from guys about quarter time, yes or no on the accelerated clock. I think this last year or most recently we were at 5 minutes with the accelerated clock turned off. I know there's been a lot of talk about increasing the play or increasing the quarter times and introducing the accelerated clock. I'm going to throw this out there for discussion. I'm of the opinion that especially now we retain the lower quarter times with the accelerated clock turned off, because as you talked about earlier in some of our games, getting rushed and the amount of delay of games that you get because it's clunky in the play calling. I think this is the wrong time for us to introduce a new rule. I think that if anything, let's keep it as is, get through the first season, and then see if we want to make improvements from there. I'm not closed-minded. I'm not closed off to the idea of making those changes. I just think that from early on, at least the early impressions of the game is that it's already a pain in the neck enough to get in there and make your accurate play call. Having the accelerated clock on just makes it that much even more difficult, and I'm going to lean against it at this point. Alan, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to disagree with you for two reasons. One of them is more of a personal thing, and this is kind of my own OCD, but when we're in franchise mode, whatever kind of settings that we start with, I typically like to keep that, because I feel like if we go around changing settings, obviously there's certain things to tinker with because it's never a finished product, but things like play calling or play clocks and, speed thresholds and stuff like that actually impacts the on-field gameplay, I like to keep that consistent so that there's a consistency and, I don't want to say integrity, that's too strong a word, but it's probably the best word I can think of right now, just to keep that integrity consistent throughout the whole run that we're doing. But that's more of a personal OCD type thing. The second reason, though, is, and this is coming from, Mr. Auden himself, last year this was a topic of discussion about how overpowered the offenses were because they could make so many quick audibles and the defense had to make individual audibles and couldn't react strong enough. And now we have the cadences and the slower offensive audibling. But I think by having a accelerated play clock and longer quarters, it takes away some of that advantage that the offenses have. It's been brought up by Norman and others that I sit there and just audible. Well, I can't do that now if it's just 20 seconds that I have or however long I have. It makes me have to make smarter play calls and think about the audibles and be more precise and strategic with them instead of just being able to design an entire play on the field.
Okay, I'm just getting this text in from Commissioner Salty. We originally had quarters 8 minutes and accelerated clock to 20 seconds. We only changed due to accelerated clock being broke. Last year we ran at 6 minutes, no accelerated clock too, and that's what it was. It wasn't 5 minutes. I misspoke. It was. Okay. He says no. Read the text as it is. I was being nice. This is what Commissioner Salty says for you, Alan. Tell Douche Nozzle we originally had a quarter 8 minutes and accelerated clock to 20 seconds. We only changed due to accelerated clock being broke. Last year we ran at 6 minutes, no accelerated clock too, FYI. Okay. So he made his point. Yeah, but still, I'm still on the 6-minute no accelerated clock. Yes, it was, quote, broken before, and now it's, quote, not broken, but it's still, quote, clunky in the play calling screen. And is there going to be a learning curve? Are we going to get better at it? Yeah, probably. But I think that at this point, though, to make a rule change before our familiarity happens, I'm not a big fan of making a change to make a change. Let's see how it plays out first. Of course, and I'll give Salty credit on this. He typically will test this stuff out. He doesn't just make changes for change's sake. He will play it, test it, go through it, check it out, see what he thinks, probably go in a game with head-to-head a few times. So he's not just going to make it to make it. But even that said, before all of us are playing or all of us are doing it, just from the front end, I just don't know if it's a great idea. But it's certainly to be seen.
Well, whatever decision gets made, I can play either way. I don't think it's a huge change one way or another, and I guess I disagree with you. As clunky as the play calling has been so far, I don't think it's clunky enough to be to be a significant factor in choosing accelerated clock or not. Obviously, like you said, Salty's going to test it. There's going to be a whole list of reasons why we choose what we choose. I guess I disagree with you on the significance of that particular issue.
Well, fair enough. Well, Alan, great job on the show tonight. Thanks for coming on and riding shotgun here on WestOne Radio. You got anything for us before we shut this thing down? We are amazingly 14 minutes shy of 2 hours. Not bad considering that we've gone a full 2 hours for the previous two shows. So good deal there. What else you got for us? Anything before we shut it down?
Well, I'm looking forward to Tuesday, this game coming out officially, and we all having it unlimited access to it. I'm looking forward to the Auden Challenge and seeing what kind of responses that gets and trying out some new things. And I'm looking forward to meeting K-Matt probably within the next 30 minutes or so and putting both of our money where our mouths are.
Well, if you guys do get linked up in a game, K-Matt's already posted on Facebook. He's looking for you. Try to get that thing up on Twitch. Don't camp out trying to do it because I know you guys will be relatively short on time. So I don't want to impact your ability to get the game in, being that we are limited. But if you can, get that thing up on Twitch. Maybe we can take a peek and watch and see how it goes. So, anyways, Alan.
I may hit you up after we go off the air because I haven't done anything on Twitch yet with the Xbox One, so maybe get some quick help setting that up before I get into the Madden game.
Well, if you don't have an account, if you don't have an account yet or anything set up, then I wouldn't worry about it. Just go ahead and get your game in because there is a little bit of a setup process there.
All right. Well, we can pay that. If you're listening, if you have a Twitch account and want to broadcast it, I would love to have this broadcasted. And I don't mind setting up an account if it's something that I can do in 5-10 minutes or so.
I don't remember. I've had a Twitch account for so long. I don't even remember how long it takes to get the thing going. But anyways, we'll talk about that off air. Thanks again, Alan, for calling in and being a part of WestOne Radio.
Been my pleasure.
Look for us to be here with you every Saturday night at 10 o'clock. This should be our go-to time. I think we've pretty much settled into to the times and the dates. You never know; things could change on the fly, but I think we're pretty much set. Really, really excited to get this NFL season kicked off. Even when your team sucks like the Raiders have over so long, it's such a fun time. I just really excited about the NFL season. Really excited about the game. Really excited about the NFL and football as a whole. So, great time of year. Great time of year. So thanks again, Alan, for calling in. Thank you all for listening. You can hit us up on the Facebook page, and you can get a link to the show there. You can access this thing at any time on YouTube, so feel free to come by and check us out. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of WestOne Madden Football League, and take care. Have a good night.